if the kid is the one that is trying to lead the family in faith, there's like a 4% chance that the family follows. If the mom is the one that tries to lead the family in faith, there's like a 17% chance. But if the dad is the one that's leading the charge in faith in the family, it's upwards of like 80 or 90% chance that like the family follows. Which I just think is such a cool responsibility and opportunity that we have as men to not even, it's not do as I say, it's more do as I do, right? Being able to model that and being able to show like, man, I can't wait for my girls to walk downstairs and then catch me doing devotions at the table. Because I just want that seared in their memory of like, oh, this is normal.
It's, I mean, and I think what you mentioned, like do as I do, right? And making sure that we're actually representing that properly, right? I mean, if we want to, I mean, it's not a game to be played; it's a life to be lived. Like we have to make sure that we're actually living that life and not just playing that game and hitting those check boxes, and playing that Christian game. And that all too often, it still happens to me now. I mean, nobody's perfect. That's one of the benefits about church is we're all hypocrites. So everybody's welcome because every one of us still sin and still do the things that are wrong. So please come on in, come and join. The water is hopefully warm and not lukewarm, and we're not sitting on both sides of the fence. But there's work to be done in all of us, and I want to make sure that we're walking that walk the way we're supposed to, and representing Christian men the way that we should, and that goes into my question is you and I both had a similar thing as far as like this is just what people do, but yet when we got a little older, may have not necessarily stepped away from the church or stepped away from our faith, but had to play some tug of war with that. What, if anything, are you doing to think about how you want to make it so that your kids maybe have that tug of war while they're still in the house with you? Maybe challenge their faith a little bit while they're still there to help them kind of work through it while they still have a support system that's guaranteed to be there as opposed to when they're out of the house and the support system is wherever they choose for that support system to be. I don't know if that question is making sense, but I can reword it if needed.
No, I think I know what you're saying. It's like how do you equip them to be able to defend what they believe and actually be thoughtful about what they believe?
Yeah, instead of just like because I feel like I went through the motions as a child. This is just what people do, so I'm just going to go through these same motions, and then it took a while for me to kind of build that up myself, and I don't want that to be the same case for my kids. I'd like there to be a little bit more defense early, Yeah.
Well, I think going through the motions is important. If I only read the Bible on the days where I was like really pumped to do it, then there's probably a lot of days that I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that there's not value in me doing it. Right. So I know you know that. But I think it's for me, and what we've planned to do is it's like already all of the books that we read are like very theologically sound, like really great Christian kid books that are diving into, like we have a children's adapted Pilgrim's Progress, which is super, super cool. It's like a picture chapter book. And that's Rory's favorite book to read. And it talks about, these kids going on a journey and going through struggles and asking for help and just putting the story of Jesus into a journey, a story of a journey. So I think that, and then also just being thoughtful about conversations at home. Right now, that's what I'm trying to prepare myself for, is when my kids get old enough to where I feel like I can have really good, deep conversations like that. So right now, everything in my head is like, in theory, if I do this, or I would like to do this. So a lot of it is what I plan, like I want to do. I'm holding up a book for those that are listening called Habits of the Household by Justin Earley. I don't know. Have you read this, Adam? Have you seen this?
I have
not. It's just doing things like this. I'm trying to prepare myself on like, how do I bring God into the normal everyday everyday habits of our household instead of just like, yeah, before we eat dinner, we thank God for the food and we say a prayer before we go to bed, and on Sundays we go to church. This is a book that I'd recommend you read and anybody read. It's the subtitle is Practicing the Story of God in Everyday Family Rhythms. What I like about this is that it's not written by some pastor that went to seminary. It's written by a lawyer, a dude with 3 boys that's just in the thick of parenting, and he wrote himself a manual for himself of, okay, here's every part of the day. Waking up, meal times, discipline, screen time, family devotions, marriage, work, play, conversation, and bedtimes.
Nice.
And this is why those things are important as a family, why it's important to insert God into it. And here's some tactical ideas on how you can do that. So I really love this book. I'm almost done and really, really suggest it. Because it's motivating, like, hey, this is why this is important, but also here's some ideas to do these things.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I have wrote it down. I will have to get it for sure. I'm also interested in the books you talked about as well, the kids' books that you talked about. So I've been trying to get my kids. So I started homeschooling this year. So various different reading, for my 4th grader, like a bunch of different types of reading material that I bought for him. And what you're talking about sounds like it would be right up my alley to get him.
So just so the listeners, if anyone's listening to this, the website for those books are lithoskids.com, LITHOS kids.com. And it's awesome. Little Pilgrim's Big Journey. And it's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
All right, so building habits for sure, and showing so that going through the motions I think is necessary for sure. Like for me, I'm a huge why kind of guy, and I've trained my kids to ask why a billion times. So that's also challenged me to try to figure out why it is I'm doing certain things. Okay, well, why is it that I'm going through these motions? Like, why are these motions important? And I think that I need to build a good reference point for my kids, for my family, to be able to say, okay, this is actually why, and be able to verbalize it better than I think I can right now. So, but I think that's a constant work in progress to make sure that I'm building the family relationship as it's supposed to be, as God would want it to be. So, all right. So let me.
That's gonna be a really hard stage of parenting for me, is when you get to a stage where your kids start making their own decisions, and you kind of allow them to make decisions.
Yeah.
So you hope up until that point that you've just planted some really great seeds in their hearts and in their souls, so they know if they go off the track, they just know where their value is.
Yeah, they feel that conviction. Yeah, where it's held. I mean, because I've I know the track that I went on. I mean, I wasn't a terrible kid by any means, but I certainly was not an angel either, right? So I'm trying to figure out, what my kids are going to be doing and how that's going to work and how I want to react to it. And I already do a poor enough job reacting sometimes with what they do now. What the heck am I going to do when they're 14 and 17 instead? Like what a pain this is going to be. But a wonderful pain, but it's going to be on my shoulders to make sure that I'm representing again what a godly man that's running a household is supposed to be doing, not necessarily just what the world wants to see or anything like that. But man, it's not easy, especially when you're looking at how we're running businesses and how all that's going at the same time. And man, oh man, there's a book that I read called Dad, Tired and Loving It, and that was a great one for me to kind of look through as well, and reminding myself that no matter what it is that we're doing as a dad, like it's a needed thing. Like be exhausted, be a dad that's very tired because you've been doing all the stuff that you need to be doing for your family, and you're not just kind of coasting along. So that's awesome. All right, I want to chat a little bit about your business side of the house. So you got into real estate 2017. What led you down the path to go become a real estate agent and open up your own branch of Remax?
So it was an accident on my end. So we moved back to the States summer of 2017. I thought I was just going to jump into corporate tech because that's where my background was. And in my mind, I had a pretty strong resume. But we came back into town right at the point where my brother-in-law had been on a real estate team for about a year and was doing really, really well. And he wanted to start his own team. So that was right when we were coming back, and my brother-in-law, Sam, this is not British Sam, this is American Sam. I have two brother-in-laws named Sam. So this is when American Sam talked to his sister, my wife, Sarah, said, "Hey, Sarah, you should talk to Tay about real estate. I think he'd be good at it." So Sam talked to Sarah and said, "Hey, you should talk to Tay about real estate." So I never considered real estate as an option ever. It was something that I never saw myself doing, but now something I can't really imagine ever not doing in some fashion.